Hello, and thank you very much for waiting. We're already having some conversation behind the stage. Well, it's a great pleasure to introduce Jan Hinrichs, who came up with the idea for LocLunch. He and I are going to have a conversation. Jan, can you join me on stage, please?
Here we go, Ulrich. Thanks a lot
Hello.
for having me today. Hello, everybody,
Well,
and
it's
thanks for being with us.
great, Jan. Good to have you here. We've been doing these LocWorlds for a long time. You started doing LocLunch in 20. It's great to be here on stage at LocWorld, virtually, unfortunately, only, but still, people from all over can join us to learn more about how LocWorld came about. So, right, is going to be how to get started, what's happening now, and what's the future of LocLunch and LocWorld, and why should people care, right?
Exactly. That's the idea. We brewed together, and I think for the audience, Ulrich and I we have been discussing this panel for the last 2 months. Probably we had several sessions, and it was super exciting to match these experiences. And so this is the idea. We want to be personal today. We want to sort of entertain in a easy listening mode. And like Ulrich and I, we're both Germans. We could do this in German, of course. We are not doing it. But the idea is that you learn a little bit about our motivations and so on. So Ulrich, yeah, I mean, I'm the invited person, but let me ask you first because you are the
Sure.
founder of the LocWorld, and what I was thinking about was, when did everything started? Do you remember the single moment where it made click and you said, "Hey, LocWorld, now this is what will come"?
Yeah, there is a moment when the idea uh, took shape, and I think it was around. I want to say must have been around 2000. I was at that time at the Localization Institute late 1996, and we were doing lots of roundtables all over for engineers, for project managers, for localization managers. And at one of those in in Pacific Grove near Monterey, California. We were sitting there, some of the regular attendees from Microsoft, Julia McLaughlin, someone from Lotus 123, if you guys anyone remembers Lotus 123, Sun Micro, Diane Manning from Sun Microsystems, and Macromedia, Uli Paulin, a good friend. And people said, "Hey, you do such a great job organizing these smaller meetings, these roundtables. They feel right. There's no commercialism. Couldn't you do something really big, maybe national or global, bringing together localization people?" There had been, when I started organizing the smaller roundtables, there was a bigger event globally called LISA, LISA, Localization Industry
Right, I
Standards
remember.
Association. But, and I had never attended one, but the people who urged me to organize a bigger event were somehow had grown disenchanted with Lisa. They did not like and had stopped going to Lisa. Heard that when Lisa was really good, what an important function it had for the global industry. And so I realized that doing a big event like that would go beyond my resources. I then time become acquainted with Donna Parrish,
I
the
just
editor.
wanted to ask you about Donna, because
The
everybody in the audience might have heard of Donna Parrish, who's the
so yeah,
founder of Multilingual.
so Donna was the publisher of Multilingual, and we had met, and I found her very sympathetic and similar values too. Just instinctively, I had a very good feeling about Dana. So when it came to the point to say, let's make this happen, I called her and I said, Dana, would you consider? It was almost, I proposed to her, if you will, not not to get engaged or to get married, but to organize local LocWorld. And Dana very happily accepted the proposal, and we launched the discussion started in 2002, and then LocWorld in Seattle in 2003 in the fall, and was much more
Amazing.
successful. I mean, we had booked that conference center in Seattle for about 180, 200 people. We wanted to be careful, but already 300 people showed up at the very first one, and then since
Wow. A
the
huge
rest is
demand.
history. Yeah.
Exactly. And now we are here in 54. No,
45.
45
Yeah.
or 54.
Well,
So
give us a little more time. Yeah. Well, what about
absolutely.
let me turn that around. LocLunch. How did you have the idea for LocLunch, and how did that get started?
I don't know if we discussed this before, but it was my experience with LocWorld that triggered LocLunch, sort of, because it was, I have been on LocWorld's conferences in my 15, 16 years now in the industry. I've attended three LocWorlds. And I mean, the experience is just awesome because, you go there, it's all, traveling. Hey, we are now in COVID times, but before it was traveling and everything physical. It was a great opportunity to meet the entire, sort of the ecosystem of the industry, listen to great presenters, and meet people. Overall, to meet people, right? So, when in 2019 I was in Hamburg in that time in Germany, and it was like I had the feeling I don't know anybody in Germany actually. And the curious thing is that I met people at LocWorld San Francisco, which were actually sort of European neighbors from me, but I had to travel around the world 10,000 kilometers to meet people who might be just, I can talk to way easier in Hamburg or wherever. So I thought that, the lock worlds are great, but the frequency and the costs are just too big to do it on a frequent basis. And when you are on a conference, you need to convince your family that one week off is a good thing, right? And it's absolutely necessary. And so, well, sometimes it works out, sometimes not. So back in Hamburg, I thought, what if we just meet local people and just have lunch together? And, so I called a couple of people. We met in a central place and had lunch together, because this is where also in LocWorld, where people open up, where you make this personal connection. And what I enjoyed so much.
Sharing a meal, right? So
Absolutely, sharing the meal, right? This is like very old school, but it's a way we communicate and we connect around the fire, right? And having meals. So this was the moment where in January, I think it was, in Hamburg, we came up with, okay, so this is a lunch. We are all people from the industry. So this is a locked lunch because we are all from the localization industry, And so I posted about it on LinkedIn. There was a great response from people from our industry of saying, hey, let's do more. And when can you come around, and so on. And this was actually the moment LocLunch was born. And then it took up, and now I just saw the numbers. We're now at 835 events we have
Wow.
organized
Con-
since then. Amazing.
Incredible, incredible. Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Abs-
And when we talked, right, I shared with you that I liked I like I mean I like bringing people together. That's from going back in high school. I was the organizer for my high school to take people to organize buses to go to concerts, to go to symphony orchestras, to go to the opera, to go to plays, because I just like, I'm an organizer, if you will, and I've organized all my life. And so I really like this idea of having local gatherings. The idea you took up and what you have explained to me of how you do it is just really very nice and clean. I think we talked about how for Donna and me all along being really clean about separating commerce
right.
from content, almost like a traditional newspaper. You have articles, you have opinion, and then you have advertisement. But you clearly know what is an advertisement for a product that someone paid money for, and then there is content that is not commercially affected. And it seems you have taken a similar approach.
Yeah, absolutely. LocLunch is for free.
Hmm.
So LocLunch, this was one of our initial rules. We have a set of rules at LocLunch, and so one of the basic was, everybody pays their own meal, so
Hmm.
there's no dependency of anybody, and there's no sponsoring either. So people can just go network and do not feel any, that they have to deliver anything as a, as this is just freedom of speech. You can just
Hmm.
join, and that's it. And I think, the structure of a traditional conference, and this one is that when you pay, you have expectations. And you at LocWorld, and this is something we have discussed in many Lock lunches and with many people. So what is a typical conference? They have to deliver a good content, so good speakers, experts. I see a poor connections. I'm not sure if you can see me and still.
Yeah, I see you really well.
Okay, good, cool.
I hope. Yeah.
So the idea is, that you can, that you these expectations of conference, if you have it like LocWorld, and you get together on a physical space, there's a preparation, there's a lot of work, curation. I'm right now in the committee for LocWorld Africa, and all this preparation, the selection of speakers and so on, this is a lot of work, and this is nothing you can do just every day, so lock lunch was let's make something very very easy, not hard
Hmm.
to do, and the ambassadors, which is our like local representation of lock lunch, the most important thing is don't overthink. What I always tell our Lock Lunch ambassadors, don't overthink, just do it, right? Bring people together.
Hmm.
But the expectation is completely different. And I think this is what, at least in 2019, was sort of missing
Hmm.
in our industry. So, and again, I mean, this wasn't planned. It just developed, and it emerged. And we have now here, I see Marina is here, Paul is here, we have Kaloa here, Rodrigo. Many others have seen the same opportunity in just get together people, bring together, help network, and create new stuff, but just with conversation, nothing structured.
Yeah, no,
So
I'd
yeah,
love.
I
I mean,
think that
it's.
was very interesting from to see and to experience what was happening.
No, it's I think it's brilliant, and I'm really I think it's the fact that it took off in so little time. There was a need for it, but also it seems that the simple rules that you set up um, are working around the globe. That people can take that concept. That I again, in a way, we are a wholly different animal, right? As you say, it's a commercial thing. You have to pay for it, but there are similarities in that we also create somewhat of a safe space. I mean, we are kind of like we built the framework, and the tone that Donna and I have set ever since the first one is, the low level of commercialism. And I think I told you that that sounds easy, but what that has meant concretely, that over the years we have turned down serious money, because what often sponsors or exhibitors are looking for is exposure, right?
Right.
But and in a way, the most valuable exposure is the one that is not classified as advertisement, right? So, you know, I remember being asked, if we take the top level sponsorship, which would have given us about $30,000, would that include our CEO being able to give the keynote speech, right? And
Right. Problematic.
fortunately, fortunately, with a partner like Donna, we didn't even have to discuss that. The answer was clearly no. No, the
Right.
content, the way we create a clean environment is we just don't do those kind of. Everyone
Right.
who speaks because he or they are worth listening to based on our judgment, right? And it sounds like you do it quite differently, but it's on the same basis.
I think we're not, the main difference for LocLunch is that there is no experts. There are no
Mhm.
experts or Koryphäen, as we say in German, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because everybody counts, and
Mhm.
there's no place for speeches. It's just a one-to-one exchange of people who have similar situations and want to exchange and learn from each other. So this is what I think worked so good at LocWorld, LocLunch, in this sense that everybody has the feeling that we are all equal, sort of. Everybody who joins in a virtual or in a physical LocLunch is on the same size, and you can be a CEO of a huge company with thousand of employees, or just a single freelancer.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you will see the conversation is very inspiring, because one of the things we have seen, and I was in London in one of the LocLunches, crazy thing, I flew to London just to be there at a LocLunch, and then I flew back to Madrid, so like a 2 hour stop in London. But there was this very dynamic mix of people from all sorts of ranks in our industry, and they could easily talk to each other, meet people they are normally not meeting on conferences, because conferences per se have a
Mm,
special target, especially if they, like LocWorld. If you have like LSPs and buyers, for example, right? So the
right. Yeah.
translators were left apart, right? So because it's too expensive, it may be not really turning out to this investment to go there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And
Let me just say, we're about halfway into our session, a little beyond. Um, but this discussion can continue, I want to say to the audience, to the people, that if you want to ask a question to Jan or me or the both of us, just post it. There's one that I think is kind of for you, Jan. Oliviera Rosselnik asks, I wonder where you have a better response. Are there more LSP representatives or vendor freelancers at the table? Where are the weak points, if any? So I think that is for you, I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming, anyhow. Do you have any thoughts on
Uh,
that?
yeah. So of course, the reality is that LSPs and freelancers have sort of more freedom or mental freedom to join these kind of sessions, because as we have seen that in companies, in big companies where there's a lot of OKRs, there's a lot of stress and you have to deliver your stuff. So many say, that's enough. I don't need more talk. But this is a big risk. And I've always, I'm very happy to see and to say that we have several LocLunch ambassadors who are on the buyer side as well, who understand that, just this exchange of ideas will help them to get a clearer idea of the industry, and especially for silos. So let's talk about the typical localization department in a big corporate. How often have you seen in all your presentations, how can we convince CEOs of, that localization is important? And the answer has been for a long time, uh, they are in a silo and they have no voice. Now, if they are in a silo and have no voice, and they are not mixing up with anybody, then there's a huge problem, because they are not getting like to a high degree of understanding of the industry. And so, this is the easiest way. There's no permission needed for a conference, like a LocWorld, LocLunch. You do not. It's just your time. It's just your break time. So I think this is one of the things we have seen.
Right.
So there is a good mix of people, fortunately. But still, to answer the question of Olivia, there's always like LSP, our machine, all the software producers around. There's vendors around, and normally there's always some part of the buyer side as well. So
Great. I like, yeah.
ecosystem. This is our aim, and this is what I ask all ambassadors to aim for, to reach out to people in our industry and even around our industry, because there's some part where we really can learn from each other and where the added value is so high.
Great. Are you, we are going into LocLunch, an hour one LocLunch after the session, and we had talked, and I don't know if you ever decided to do it or you decided to do it. Are there going to be some tables at LocLunch where people can find out how to start
Absolutely.
a LocLunch? Great.
Yeah.
So just we can
We
say,
organized it before.
great. So when you go
that
to,
is,
do you want to announce right now where do they go? Which floor? Is there a particular floor they go
it's
to?
on the first floor, and it's two desks. It's LocLunch desks. There will be Kaloa from our LocLunch ambassador, Argentina, Peru, Lima, old standard LocLunch ambassador, and our sponsor today of this session. And myself, I will be on LocLunch desk 1. So
All
if
right.
anybody in the audience wants to learn more about how this rolls out and so on, just say hello. So yeah, Ulrich, maybe I can ask you now. I have like two questions for
Go ahead.
you, because there's always there's so many people saying, hey, we are building community and so on, right? So LocLunch is a LocLunch community. How do you define LocWorld? Is it a community? Is it not?
Yeah, you brought that up in one of our preparatory calls. And what I said to you then, I think I still believe today. I would not use in the narrow sense community for LocWorld. Because to me, a community, I think the word applies to LocLunch. And maybe one of the distinguishing things for me, but I'm taking a very narrow definition, is that you have no commercial interest, right? I mean, LocLunch is not there to make money. It's really a community. It's a community serving organization. To me, LocLunch, LocWorld is a business, right? I think Don and I all along, like as a very community in the spirit of a community, but I don't want to mislead people to think. No, we're not a nonprofit. We are not an association. I mean, people over the years have suggested, why don't you offer membership in LocWorld? And I don't feel that is clean either, because if you do, I feel if you had membership, with that needs to come a vote. There needs to be maybe a board that gets elected that, like Gala, for example, is a nonprofit with an elected board that directs the executive director. That works. But LocWorld like that. At the same time, curiously enough, I'd like to think why people keep on coming back, because it is really a very community minded event, right? We don't put
Right.
this, Don and I didn't start that because we believed that was the quickest way to make a lot of money. And that's why we're doing it. And the moment we've made all that money, we're going to sell it and do something else. We're doing it out of a sense of service, of bringing people together, bringing the old German Völkerverständigung, bringing nations, bringing people together. So that's how I would say we are very community minded, but I wouldn't say, I wouldn't claim that we are a community. So
Right. I like this distinction, because today it seems like everything needs to be community. But yeah, as you said, if there's a commercial thing after behind, like entry prices or whatever organization, then it's a for profit. And it's
mhm.
important that also I completely agree with your stake on what happens actually on a lock world, is that the parties and everybody who has been on a physical lock world before knows that there's these dinners after the lock world with a big party, and it's just amazing how to dance, to speak, to talk, to take drinks together with all these people you might only see once a year. And I think this
Right.
is this is one of the big differences also for LocWorld or conference, a physical conference like LocWorld and LocLunch. LocLunch supposedly was to connect people locally,
Right.
to have my peers in Madrid, to know all these people who are in this industry in Madrid, to understand who's there, what are you doing, what problems you have, and so on. While LocWorld was a global thing, or is a global thing. So we're gathering together at a certain place, and people come thousands of miles, fly in to meet each other, and it's just an awesome experience. I can't,
Well,
so this is
and thank you for the compliment. And I mean, and thanks for mentioning that, in a way, the idea, or let's say LocRoll inspired you to have this idea for LocLunch. Same time, I want to, Anne Marie, who I work with, who's our marketing director, mentioned that she has gone to several, when she travels, she goes to lock lunches on multiple continents. And what a pleasant experience that has been to be in Strasbourg is one place, and just go and hook up with the localization people at LocLunch Strasbourg. I mean, so it is, even there, it's gone a little bit beyond what your original idea was, right? It is It's kind of like a club, call it Club Lock.
Right.
Yeah,
Where
maybe
we
I need
have lock drinks and all this stuff, right?
maybe I need to quickly trademark the Club Lock, so no one, so people get together for local. No, no, kidding. Any
No.
other? Let me make sure. No, it doesn't seem any other questions. One
Well,
thing we talked.
I think there's one thing I wanted to ask you, because
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
this is something the audience also wants to understand. What has been your learnings from the COVID sim? Because LocWorld was really a massive operation. When you organize these things, you told me in the pre-sessions, you told me that you are organizing like two years ahead, with huge
right.
investment in the place. I recall San Francisco. It was just amazing hotel, like the stadium and all this stuff. Huge organization. So now COVID hit, and everything breaks down. And on top, you were off for a couple of months,
Yeah, almost a year I was out.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
So tell us, what was how was this journey, and how do you see right now LocWorld evolving in the next few years? Where do you see the
Yeah,
future? So
yeah.
from now with COVID.
Yeah, well, thanks for giving me a chance to talk about this. Well, as an organization, as a business that depends on live events, we were hard hit when in the about 18 months ago, spring of 2020, we were at that time we're holding contracts in dollars. Hotel in the convention center in Vancouver, Canada, a hotel already for 2021 in Madrid. So that was signed 2 years before. And then we had a contract for the Intercontinental in Berlin. And when you added up those contracts, we had basically promised to pay about $1 million for in services and rental fees and AV. And so, you can imagine there was somewhat of a sense of panic. And it became clear that these events were not likely going to happen. But, we have a really strong team, a strong partnership, Don and I. And so we pivoted. We were able to get out of the Madrid contract by paying a smallish cancellation. Vancouver said, well, we can't hold the event, so we're going to give you the money back and we'll let you out of the contract. Berlin was the toughest one. We already had paid 30,000 euros as a down payment. They wanted another 30,000 euros, even though legally the event could not be held, but they still wanted another 30,000 euros. And we said no. What we did eventually was they became reasonable when it became clear it would continue. So we rebooked the event for 2022. They allowed us to postpone it by almost 2 years and a month. So that is one reason we love going to Berlin, so it was no big sacrifice. And we are able to scale back the event to a smaller size. And we quickly, said, okay, well, people still want to do LocWorld, and we directed all that experience that we developed over 20 years of doing live events and putting on really good virtual events. I mean, we brought, I'd like to say, or credit goes to Oksana, brought Remo to localization, to the localization community. We used Remo. We were the first ones to use Remo at the first LocWorld last summer, and that's become very, very popular. Switched platforms, and now we're we're pivoting back. We're probably gonna learn how to do hybrid events. Next year, going to be a virtual LocWorld Africa. In the summer, we're meeting in Berlin
Very
face to
excited about
face.
that one.
Yeah, and thank you for joining. And then in the fall, we're probably going to do another face-to-face one on the West Coast, maybe with some hybrid stuff in between. So in a way, I feel, like I think it was Churchill is given credit for saying, "Don't let a good crisis go to waste." And I'm happy to say that we did not let that crisis go to waste.
Right. So you feel your team is stronger than before, and now with the mindset open to embrace, especially Africa. We have talked about Africa
Right.
quite a bit, and the problematic of travel in Africa, and now with
Right.
COVID even worse,
Yeah.
right? And so I think there's a huge potential to for LocWorld to, it's like, we talked about it, like it's when Google or Facebook announces we are going to Africa and we are investing 1 billion in the next 5 years. It triggers so much. It means so much as a signal for the industry as a whole to say, hey, let's move. There's something happening. And this is, I think, and this is why I feel it's so great, because if I'm not wrong, this is the first African, like the major players of our industry from the conference side who openly started a conference for Africa.
And
Right?
to circle back to what we talked about before, the team that put on this LocWorld 45, we made money doing LocWorld 45. That's going to pay our salaries for the coming months. And that means when I come back next week, I and Donna and Chris and Alex and so on can focus on building an exciting LocWorld Africa. We can spend doing Zoom calls, recruiting, reviewing, getting information, because it's going to be a huge learning curve to learn with any kind of colonial mindset. We're going to bring
Absolutely.
stuff to Africa. No, to approach it that we are here to learn. Africa is hugely diverse. We bring a lot of knowledge about how to manage language, localization, translation, technology, but we'd like to bring these together. Maybe do maybe an Africa event, a virtual Africa event, or maybe a face-to-face one. So if you will, having a model like we have, that generates profits, can then allow you to finance an expansion like we're doing now by going into new territory, like Africa, where there is no guarantee that it will be a profit-making venture. So how about you, though? We're down to about 5 minutes, so maybe I'd want to. What are your plans with Lock? What is your vision? What is your ambition?
LocLunch has always been just a side project, even if it's like it has become such a visible event all on LinkedIn, on social media, and 850 events. We're going to 10,000 events in 3 years. This is quite a lot of people connecting to each other and making new connections. So, but the reality is, it's we had this COVID thing, and we, after a couple of weeks, decided let's go online, and it turned out to be just a fabulous idea, because now people could join from all over the world to certain places, and new connections were created. Now we're seeing people going back to offline, and it's also great because people are now very familiar with the concept. And we see Barcelona, for example, will be in the next few days with Yuka, and there will be people coming from other countries flying in to Barcelona to meet the local community. And I think these are dynamics. This is just awesome, and I am very excited about to see that we finally kicked off with our Africa LocLunches. And yesterday it was Burkina Faso. That was really, really amazing to see a full table of people in Burkina Faso, in the capital of Burkina Faso, sitting together, talking and interchanging ideas about how they should work on, with technology, what problems they have to understand, to get each other to know, to make this first initial seed investment and social investment. So now we have Accra. We have
I attended the Accra one. That was fascinating to just be from here in the Midwest, in American Midwest. I joined the LocLunch Accra. Yeah.
That is, so I hope, and this is what our plans are. So, you know, we have this idea of a platform for LocLunch. So basically to make it easier for everybody to follow the events and to sign up to the events, to find people to network in their local areas. So now we're like doing small advances. Again, this is not for profit. So it's just everybody who has an idea, and maybe I launch it here. You know, everybody who has a good idea and wants to be part of this, you know, next gen platform, get in touch. You know, get in touch. This is something I want to build up because I think it brings a lot of benefits to bring people together. Networking is good per se for me, of course. I'm making no deal of it. I have met so many great people and learned so much. So all this is a great opportunity. And now there's Annemarie coming in, stopping us saying so. But to sum it up, LocWorld, LocLunch, we will be, I will be behind the growth, international growth. Africa, India is missing. So these are two things. Asia can do more, of course, America, Europe, you know, keep it up and running. I think this is important for everybody.